Hi, folks, and welcome to another Saturday Morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
And I am on the cusp of winter's touch. Alone.
No one's gonna
Cold.
Maybe we should just record our preamble before the podcast. If anyone doesn't know, look, it's not on YouTube, by the way. That skit is not on YouTube.
There's a lot of old skits that aren't. Most of them
I can't
aren't,
believe
actually.
it. So everyone Google Saturday Night Live Little Women skit and be prepared to laugh your tookus off.
Tookus.
Your tookus. Because back in the day, when that show played, I never watched it unless it was a guest I wanted. And it was like all the All-Stars. Mm-hmm. I should have been watching, but I only watched it if some, Jim Carrey or someone else I liked was on it. If that was not it, we did other things on Saturday nights. We did not sit at home and watch.
I watched it every week.
That was its heyday.
Yeah.
But I remember back in the day, we only watched it if it was a celebrity we wanted to see. Other than that, we'd go off and do other things. That's so weird. But because the 90s were, early to late mid 90s were probably the finest.
Absolutely.
That SNL ever had.
So speaking of TV channels, though.
Yeah. Let's go into our top 5.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about top 5 TV channels we used to watch because now everything's streaming. Now we've both cut the cord. And TV in general, cable TV has kind of gone the way of the buffalo. You can watch whatever you want when you want. You don't have to watch a channel anymore. But back in the day, there were several channels we spent time on. And this is where it gets kind of tricky because I'm moving out through my life from the 2000 when I started. When I moved out on my own is when I'm starting. Because obviously we watch Cartoon Network, cartoon channels, all the Nickelodeon, stuff like that. But I'm moving past that for when I was grown up a little bit, out of college, and on to right as Megan and I cut the cord a couple of years ago.
So when I look at this list and I think about this, for me, it's top 5 channels that I used to watch. Now, that doesn't mean that these are necessarily defunct channels.
No, they're not. These channels are still going, I think. All mine are.
Right. And I think when I look at my list, I believe that they're all there, but they're different. TV is different. During the winter, because of football season, I actually have YouTube TV. So I don't watch it like I used to, obviously. So I don't flip through all those old channels. But even that right there is a term that, you just don't use these days. Because whenever we were growing up, you flipped through the channels. You had the remote. You would have to flip to the guide channel sometimes.
Yep.
The
TV guide channel
to see what was coming on. And you had to wait because it was slow and it was scrolling.
And if you missed, you went off to go get something and came back. No!
Right,
You got to sit through the whole thing again.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, TV Guide would also show a little something preview.
Absolutely.
They always showed the Survivor preview. And I would check TV Guide just to watch the Survivor preview show before it premiered.
Nice.
Because Jeff Probst would do the premiere show on TV Guide channel.
Yeah. So, all right. So, how many of these?
You give me the crossover here. This is a wide swath here.
It is a lot. I'll say 1.
Dang it. Because you're right on 1. I got to go 2 or 0 here. I'll be bold. I'll say 2.
Saying 2. I mean,
I'm
it's
saying
certainly
2.
a possibility, just depending on where you go with the list.
I'd be shocked if one of these wasn't on your list.
But mine's very, very personal. I mean, as they all are. But I mean, this is like, where I navigated to the most.
All right. Would you like to start it off? Kick it off.
I'll
Number
go
5.
First. I'll go first. All right. Now, this one is, I'm sure, one that is still around, but not in like the form that it is today, in my opinion. My number 5 is Comedy Central.
Oh, you scared me because mine is exactly that definition, but not Comedy Central. But
so, yeah, I watched a lot of Comedy Central like in the late 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. Number 1 for South Park. I was just a fan of South Park from day one, and I still am.
Yep.
Trey Parker is a hero of mine. But all the stand-up comedy. They used to always have tons of stand-up comedy.
Tons of stand-up comedy. And even earlier than that, they'd show funny clips from movies. Do you remember that? They showed funny shorts. Back before YouTube Shorts and TikTok, they did funny little clips from movies, from popular movies. That's what they used when they first aired.
Yeah.
But, oh man, was Comedy Central MST3 93K?
They may have showed that on there.
Or was that Sci-Fi? That may have been Sci-Fi.
May have been
Channel.
Sci-Fi. It may have
No,
been
I think it was
both.
Comedy Channel.
Maybe.
I don't know. But, if it was, then maybe I should put Comedy Channel on mine. That's a good pick.
All right, so that is my number 5.
That's a good pick. Comedy Channel. Okay. Because I watched a lot of stand-up there, too. Okay, mine was a channel that was good. It was, when it first premiered, it was excellent. Because it had taken the spot of someone else who used to be good, but then moved on, and then they said, we'll take up that programming, and became awesome too. When Cartoon Network started doing their own original content, I loved it too. Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo was one of my favorite cartoons of all time. So I was enjoying some of that original content, but they were dropped off those old school. And then Boomerang came into our lives, and Boomerang said, we'll take up the torch. And suddenly, now I'm watching Smurfs, Snorks, all the old cartoons. And this was the only way to watch these old cartoon shows back in the day. Mm-hmm. And Boomerang, and it showed all the Hanna-Barbera, classic Hanna-Barbera. And so you're there enjoying Yogi Bear, everything else like that. And I was like, this is where it's at. And so there was a lot of Boomerang hours in between. And then, of course, Boomerang did their own thing, and they gave up on the classic.
They always give up on the classics.
But Voltron, I remember I'd record on my Comcast DVR Voltron, episodes of Voltron and Thundercats, and I was like, wow, all this great Silverhawks and stuff, and I used to watch it. It was the only way for me to get those old cartoon fixes, and I loved it. I was like, I'm so thankful, because Cartoon Network started off a little bit like that, and then kind of grew out.
Cartoon Network was that.
It was that, and then Boomerang got formed, so we'll take up the torch. And I was like, excellent, finally, a place for me to go.
You know, another channel like that, and this is one of my honorable mentions, I'll just throw it in there because I'm pretty sure it's not on your list, is the Game Show Network. Because the Game Show Network...
That's an honorable mention for me, too.
It did the exact same thing, because when it first started, it was exactly what I wanted. It was old school game shows. You know, and then they started producing their own game shows, and most of them are just not good to me.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there would be kind of one that's all right, whatever. But, like, I wanted to see old episodes of Price is Right. I want to see old episodes of Press Your Luck, old episodes of...
Press Your Luck was on there. You had old episodes of, tons of little game shows back in the day.
Yeah, like I wanted stuff like Joker's Wild, Tic-Tac-Doe, you know. Any of these $100,000 Pyramid.
Hollywood Squares.
Yeah,
you know, that stuff was on there.
Yeah,
and it was fun to watch.
And then it just kind of did what Cartoon Network
The Pyramid,
did.
the Pyramid, yeah.
So... I hear you. All right.
All right, number 4.
My number 4 is no way on your list or no way on anybody else's list. But I love this channel. I still love this channel. And it's the Weather Channel. You had to look at Matt's face. Because he just...
I'm trying to think. The only time you watched the Weather Channel was you was hoping the weatherman would die when he's reporting on the next hurricane or tornado.
So here's the deal. Much like in our last podcast, and I talked about Sears and my mom always...
Was a Weather Channel.
She always had it on the Weather Channel. Like, if it wasn't on, like, some news or something, she just kind of had the Weather Channel on the background. So for me, the Weather Channel and its music...
Nostalgia.
...became very medicinal. More than nostalgia, like, it became very kind of healing to me and soothing to me.
The only time I checked it, and this is when everyone checked, if you want to know what the weather was in your local area, because they always had that popping up.
8 on the 8.
So if you wanted to look it up before the internet, you just went to Weather Channel to see what the weather is for you today.
Right. And I loved that, you know, but I've always liked weather. I've always liked storms. I've always liked meteorology. And maybe...
Well, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And if the Weather Channel pulled up in front of your house, it's time to move.
Yeah.
Because they ain't going there for sunny skies.
So, yeah, I don't watch it because I don't have cable now. I have YouTube TV. But, you know, but every once in a while, I'll say this. If weather does come to the area, I will be one of the first ones to go on Facebook now and look up Jared Floyd because I just love watching like the weatherman. I like watching the radars. I don't know.
So does my brother Caleb.
Yeah.
Do you remember his feud with Jared?
No.
Yeah, Jared would come to our dinner theater and he'd mock Caleb, and for some reason Caleb just didn't like him, so Caleb would mock fun of him. And Caleb,
I don't remember him ever coming to our dinner theater.
He came to one.
Did he?
And Caleb hated him.
Was he?
And he called Caleb because he'd tease Caleb. And he'd go, "You suck." And Caleb gets so mad for some reason. Caleb, but it got under. I think it was Jared.
Dang.
The weatherman he hated.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
All right, down with Jared.
I'm telling you what. Anyway, my number 4. I was watching shows on this even after we cut the cord. I was still trying to catch the last few shows we were watching. But there was a time where I thought this channel could do no wrong. And like every show, I was prepared to give it a shot. In fact, today, if you were to tell me, hey, there's a show that's on FX, and I'd be like, I'm checking it out.
Yeah.
The Shield.
Oh, man.
Then I watched Rescue Me. Then I watched, what was it called about lawyers? Damages, which was excellent.
Sons of Anarchy.
And Sons of Anarchy, my wife's favorite.
Yeah.
Justified.
Oh,
I mean, there was
Justified's
always,
great.
at any time, there was always one show on FX I was watching, and then the last one I watched was the spinoff from Sons of Anarchy. I can't remember what it was.
Mayans?
But Mayans, yeah, and I was watching that to the very end. So I have been watching an FX show literally since The Shield came out in the early 2000s or whatever, but I was always watching an FX show because there was always something good on FX. Damages got picked up by DirecTV. I was working for DirecTV at the time and started recording Damages on the DirecTV DVR at work and then just taking off and then watching it for an hour. Because I didn't have DirecTV, but DirecTV picked up the show for its last 1 or 2 seasons. It was such a great show. But the thing was, though, FX just could do no wrong. And there's a few other FX shows that I kind of like to watch. You know, that I never got to see, Terriers or whatnot, or I can't remember what it's called. I don't know. There's a few other ones that said, oh, these were good, but they just showed at the wrong time or whatever. I was like, well, I'll try it because it seemed like FX could. I watched the new Justified season, which was fun.
It's really good.
Timothy Oliphant, but it seemed like they always had a show on, and these things go 7 seasons, so it's like 7 years, then 7. I'd pick up another one, 7 years, 7, 4 years, 7 years. I think Mayans went like 6 seasons or whatever, but I'd always watch them. So FX has been a big part of my life.
FX is really important, I think, and you're right, because when you look at the landscape of TV in the past 20 years, okay, so one of the big booms when it comes to TV was in 2004. Really, maybe a few years before that prior, whenever like Sopranos came out, 6 Feet Under, The Wire, but those were all HBO shows, and HBO was notorious for making good shows. But that kind of kicked us off. Then when you get to 2004, network TV had a huge boom too, because that was whenever Desperate Housewives, House, Grey's Anatomy, a couple other things. So then a few years later, Dexter came out, Breaking Bad came out, and so that's whenever FX was really good, because they were a cable company that were making serious shows, like serialized shows where it was like one continuous storyline, as opposed to your CSIs, which are kind of freak of the weeks, which have always been really, really good on cable network. So FX was really important to kind of fill that gap in between 2005, 2006, and let's say 2016 and 17, whenever Netflix started to take over. And now we're in this, there's, huge TV boom where more people are making TV shows than movies. And, you can't even keep up with it anymore. And a lot of them are good and a lot of them are high quality. But FX was doing that before any of that started.
They really were.
And it was one of those times whenever you could watch something like Sons of Anarchy and it's like, this is a cable show and they're killing people and cussing and nudity. And it's like, any old 13-year-old could watch this if they're up, because it's just on cable.
Special advisory before the show started.
Yeah. So
scenes violent and graphic of nature.
It was kind of unique in that way. That's a good choice.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so my number 3, you said earlier, is one of your kind of ones that you were away from, but I have to put it on here for me because I just watched it every day after school, and that's Nickelodeon. I mean, Nickelodeon was such...
That's fair. That's fair.
It was so important to me and growing up, and I know that you watched a lot of it too.
Megan would have Nickelodeon as her probably number 1.
Yeah, I mean, from the kid shows to the cartoons to the game shows to, it
was big as a kid. We watched it all the time.
Yeah, they had me, and for me, they had me at that perfect time in my age, right? This new, Quiet on Set and all that documentary, whatever. I haven't watched it, but that was past me. I really don't know any of those shows. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm talking 80s, late 80s, 90s.
As a kid, Nickelodeon, ESPN, because we watched SportsCenter every morning. That's how we ate our breakfast at SportsCenter. And then something like a USA Network, the cartoon. Moon Express.
Yeah, with Mr. T and the T-Force.
That's what we'd always watch those channels.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when Disney had their 2-week preview. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
That channel never changed when the Disney had the
free preview.
Oh, the free preview, baby. Got to consume.
But man, it was awesome back in the day. But I think that's the difference. Like today, and a lot of it is nostalgia. A lot of it is just where we're at in our life. I'm sure kids today would feel the same way because it's what they grow up on.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit simpler, like when I look at Nickelodeon, and the way some of these have changed, things get muddled. They have a lot of programming, a lot of people to try to please. But back then it was pretty straightforward. You had your cartoons, you had your game shows,
you had your kid shows like Salute Your Shorts,
and
Are You Afraid of the Dark? Hey Dude, we loved.
Yeah.
As live action ones go, that was our favorite.
It's a good show. So
I still play.
I was a fan of Nickelodeon.
No joke. I still play the intro music to my kids every morning when we go to the daycare.
Yeah.
Hey Dude is one of the songs we play.
Sweet.
I love it because Ella will dance to it. And I'll go, Hey Dude. It's a great song. That's a great pick. No, I get that pick. That's totally fine. I just chose not to pick from my childhood. I almost did.
Yeah.
All right. I'm getting worried. How many did I say? I said 2?
You said 2, and I've only got 2 left.
We're not going to do this.
We might not even get 1.
Travel Channel. It was hopeful. Travel Channel, not because I enjoyed seeing places I'd never seen before, but they also did the top 5 hotspots at Disney World, whatever.
Oh,
and you're like, oh, I got to watch that. Or the parades.
Oh,
they show the parades. Or they'd show the places to eat around the world, and or they did the what was the other thing I loved? Hotel Impossible. Oh man, I used to watch Hotel Impossible all the time. You go to these hotels and try to fix them up and everything, and but there was a lot of stuff. And the top 5 spots for Halloween. The top 5 haunted mansion places, the top 5 festivals, where you want to go for Christmas. And I was like, oh man. So I would always watch that stuff. The countdown of this, the best New Year's Eve parties, the best hotels around, the world's craziest hotels. Oh, okay. The world's craziest. Well, yeah, I want to see roadside attractions. Ooh. I was all about that because I lived vicariously through the Travel Channel. It was just such a wonderful channel. Watch it all the time. There it is.
Love it.
And I've struck out here. You said 1?
I did say 1.
Okay, you've got a chance here. You've got 2 more left. So
it's possible.
I think you do.
All right, so my number 2, easy for me because number 1 is easy. There was no question as to number 1. So number 2 is pretty easy as well.
Right.
Number 2 is TBS.
Whoa!
For
the Superstation.
The Superstation, baby, for 3 reasons.
It played the Braves.
But the third reason was because of the Braves and the Cubs.
Really?
Yeah, because I watched...
WGN was the Cubs.
Wait, was it? Yeah, I guess WGN was the
Cubs.
WGN
is the Cubs. TBS was the Braves.
Yeah. But they used to have like all kinds of they would show those day baseball games.
Yeah.
So you could watch them during the day. But that's not as big as
because every year they played Kong versus Godzilla. Every year we always watched it every year. Because they played reruns of Perry Mason. Because my mom watched that.
It's because they showed movies all the time.
They did. Blues Brothers.
You can always watch the Road Warrior or Maximum Overdrive, Bloodsport, whatever.
You are a big Bloodsport fan.
Yeah, but it was because of WCW, like wrestling. Like that's where I watched wrestling.
Oh right.
And this was
Ted Turner.
Because Raw didn't start until '93.
Yeah.
So in the late '80s and the early '90s,
TBS was the place to go.
Saturday nights
for your golden era.
Yeah, and so I watched that all the time. WCW Saturday night.
That makes a lot of sense.
Watched it, every weekend.
See, for me, USA was the WWF.
Yeah, and it became that.
And then where was WCW playing? On TNT?
It was still TBS.
It was still TBS?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Nitro was on TBS.
Oh, you're right. So to be honest, if I'm fair, I only watched it when it was wrestling back then.
Yeah.
But I watched USA and TBS. We'd flip back and forth between them too. Mm-hmm. Back in the old Monday Night Wars.
Heck yeah, you had to.
Which were so much fun.
And one of my honorable mentions is this TNT, which is the sister station to TBS. But I always watched that because they had more movies. They showed a little bit more movies. Didn't have the wrestling. And then they had Joe Bob Briggs and his Monster Vision in the 90s.
Didn't TNT play Walker, Texas Ranger? Adventure
Probably.
episodes.
Yeah.
It seems like they would be the one to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
They really broke out because they started getting good movies. I mean, action movies back in the day.
Yeah, they did.
Didn't they try to brand themselves as the man's channel or whatever?
Something like that, yeah.
The channel for guys.
Yeah, because at
girls
first-
have Lifetime.
Right.
You have TNT.
Well, because
you watch your action
blood
movies.
sports and hard targets and all that nonsense. And,
That's true. I think they did for a while. It was the man's channel.
It was awesome.
Yeah, because men need channels too.
But
to
TBS,
bond over.
And that everything started 5 minutes later. It was always
805, 705.
705.
You're right.
That was the only station that did that.
5 minutes past the
And
hour.
do you
Why?
know why they did that?
No.
Okay, so this was Ted Turner's idea.
Please educate me.
He said that whenever every other station something would start on the hour. And he said by the time 5 or 6 minutes was in and that first commercial came up, then people
switch over.
They were switching channels. And so he would want his stuff to just be starting, so then maybe, he could hook people on his stuff.
And keep people on his channel.
Yeah, and they did that forever.
Shut up.
Yeah.
They don't do it now.
Well, they don't have to. It's
Yeah.
an on-demand world,
Oh, that's true. What? How smart.
Yeah. It
How
worked.
smart.
I mean, it carved a
I
niche.
never knew why they did that. It made them special that way. I never thought about that. Wow.
Turner Broadcasting System.
Wow. All right. Number 2. This is it. I don't know. Food Network?
No, but I love the Food Network. A
I
lot.
Restaurant Impossible, Chopped. I've watched everything.
I love Next Food Network Star. I love that show.
Next Food Network Star. I didn't watch that one. I did. Well, no, I did watch. I watched the first one, and but I watched Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives. Mark Summer, How It's Made.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I wish they would have continued that one, but How It's Made was so good. They talked about top 5 places for burgers, pizza, whatever whatever you want, your pancake, your whatever, and you travel to these wonderful places, or best place to eat in Chicago, New York, Dallas, Phoenix. Man, I'd watch it. And when I was traveling for work, I was talking of finding those. Like one was in Cleveland, and I was like, I'm gonna go there. And someone goes, "You're going to?" It was called Melt. And it's just a cheese plate. They just had cheese everything. And so I got their grilled cheese has 5 different kinds of cheese, and they put the top with cheese. You eat it with a fork. It's just a layer of cheese. They put cheese on everything. You want a burger? Burger comes with 4 different cheeses. Dang. You pick the cheeses you want, and they melt it all around the burger. The burger is just oohing cheese.
And some Miralax.
Oh man, it's called constipation too. But I mean, to be honest, it was when I went, I took a bite of whatever they had, the cheese melt or whatever, and I just fell apart. I ate it. I blacked out. I woke up an hour later. The lady's like, "Do you need anything else?" I'm like, "What? Who? Where am I?" "You're at Melt, sir. You're at Melt. You just had one of our sandwiches." "Okay. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Do you want anything else?" "No." "Okay. Here's your bill." "Thank you. You're welcome. Do you need us to take you to the car?" "Yeah. Can you carry me?"
Check my pants.
Check my pants. I melted.
I just melted in my trousers.
I just melted. But I'd learned, but Food Network was, and still, right up until we cut the cord, Food Network was one of, Travel Channel 2. It was between these my top 3 were the only things I was watching. I'd watch Travel Channel when it was my favorite shows, Food Network when I wanted something to play, and I had something else I loved a little bit better. But these were the 3 channels I'd only watch and didn't watch anything. And the whole time I was like, wow, I'm paying all this cable for 3 channels. I don't care about any other channel. Megan's watching tons of them, but I just wanted 3 channels. That's the only 3 channels I cared about right before we cut the cord. Mm-hmm. But I remember just sitting there when the girls were born, just watching Food Network
watching some
marathons.
Cupcake Wars.
And I never can watch TV for that long, but back then I'll watch me some Restaurant Impossible. I hated when it was one I'd already seen. It's like, oh no, I'm going to watch and switch to Travel Channel. All right, so what is number 1? We don't have any crossover.
Probably not.
And for such a vague, I
Yeah.
promise you we don't.
Yeah.
But for such a vague, it was vague. It shouldn't surprise us too much.
All right. Well, my number 1 is definitely something that back in the day I wanted all the time. Couldn't get enough of it. Because I want my MTV.
Oh, I should have known that one.
I mean, MTV was special. In the 80s,
was.
it was special. It was 100% exactly that. It was music videos.
Okay, so you're talking older school.
I'm talking 80s.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking like 90s. Because one of my honorable mentions
Back when they had
is
the
VH1, because VH1 started off really, really bad. But then, man, when the pop-up video was so good. And then
pop-up video, yeah,
so
that was good.
That was VH1. But MTV in the 80s was just strictly music videos.
Yeah.
And music videos, are a product really of the 80s. And
That's true.
And with Michael Jackson and his mini movies and not many, but mini, M-I-N-I, the way all of his videos were mini movies, like the production value got big. So like it was huge whenever a music video would premiere.
It was a mini movie, yeah.
Not just
All of
him,
his
but
were.
everybody, and some were good, some were better than others. Like if you go back and look at the right when it started, kind of the early to mid 80s, man, there's some goofy ones and some funny ones and some unique ones, but that's all it was. And so when you wanted music, and you wanted to see the music, you could go there. And then in the late 80s, they did kind of start with, some special shows. I remember they had Headbangers Ball that would always come on that show, And I wasn't really a headbanger, but I did like Metallica. I did like Megadeth, things like that.
But the thing, and you'd get excited when it was the video you wanted to see.
Oh, man, Sweet Child of Mine. That was my video. That's the one I wanted to see.
You Could Be Mine, where they sliced into Terminator 2.
Yeah. And you never knew when it was coming on.
You never knew, but if it was, you did nothing but watch it.
Yeah.
It was the best thing in the world. Michael Jackson's Black and White.
Oh, my goodness.
Of course, anything Michael Jackson. Bad, Thriller. You were just like, oh, this is so good. Smooth Criminal was great. Billie Jean. Was that the light up sidewalk? It's just magical.
Yeah.
Magical.
Beat It?
Which is what I did when I saw Paul. What's the
Weird
name?
Al Yankovic?
No, yeah.
Paul Abdul?
Paul Abdul's Promise of a New Day.
Oh, what was that song the video of hers that was really like sexy?
Dancing Under the Waterfall. That was it. Vanessa Williams.
No, the Cold Hearted Snake.
Oh, Cold Hearted Snake.
Remember that video when it was like kind of they were all the black when they were the ballet dancers doing like the sensual ballet dancers?
Yeah.
I mean, going off into a different direction here.
When she's dancing with the cartoon cat.
Oh, yeah, MC Scat Cat.
Yeah.
Opposites attract.
Opposites attract. There's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, like to me, that's
Those
very
were good times.
I think a lot of our listeners understand this because they're around our age, but I think that's something that the newer generation just won't understand and they can't understand. And it's not their fault because they are growing up in an on-demand
different era.
world.
Yeah, it's an
but
on-demand
like how important that was, like because you could not just pull up YouTube and watch something.
No.
You had to wait. You had to be in the right place at the right time. And there was something magical about that because if you saw it, then you could go back to school. You could tell your friends, you could share in that. It's those water cooler moments, as they used to talk about, more for adults, but they don't really have that as much anymore. So
yeah, did you see the latest? Yeah,
you experienced something live with
and then
somebody else.
They did Nirvana Unplugged. If you missed that, oh my goodness, everyone was talking about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd have the little mini live concerts and everything, and that was just great stuff. So they did tons of good stuff back in the day, and that's a good pick. You know what? Those are good picks. I'm picking stuff that's later on, right before I cut the cord, the three channels. We have different takes on this, and mine is not exciting, so I'm just going to say it. We'll move on, wrap it up. But mine was MLB Network. Of course, I'm a Major League Baseball fan. I watch Hot Stove all the time. I watch all these other shows. I always watch my breakdowns from all those people. I love their in studio was a mini baseball field where they would play mini baseball in it, or they'd show, all right, here's how he bats, or here's how he fields the ball. Watch how he, then they'd be in the outfield or whatever in this little mini area. And I was like, oh man, you got to play a game of wiffle ball in here. That sounds awesome. They had their own mini park in there. And I watched that all the time. And then when it started getting repetitive, that's when I went to Food Network. Mm-hmm. But because the same show would play back-to-back times, where they were hurting for programming back then. But that was my favorite. But I love your picks. Honorable mentions, do you have any?
I did have some, actually. VH1,
Go right ahead.
VH1 is on there.
VH1, yeah.
I cannot tell you how much I loved pop-up video.
That was a good one.
It just,
I'm the same way. I thought VH1 was garbage.
It was.
I was like, man, this is just crap. They can't get it right. And then they did pop-up video, and that was something that was entertaining.
And then I said TNT. USA was on there because of wrestling.
USA's classic.
And they showed, and then they also had the Up All Night.
Oh, with Rhonda Shear.
Rhonda Shear, and sometimes Gilbert Godfrey.
Don't spoil this moment for me. I just say Rhonda Shear.
Rhonda Shear, yeah.
I can't remember what her face looked like.
You're going to she had blonde hair. You're going to pick on me for this one, but Lifetime. but that's kind of more of a mom thing. You know, that's where my love,
I got
of
you.
Hallmark movies came from.
Okay.
Before Hallmark was a thing. And my last one, which I really, really enjoyed this station. I think it became a big old load of crap. Not too long after it premiered, but for the first 2 or 3 years, I thought it was really good, and that was Entertainment Television.
When they started with their news and gossip things like that.
Like Talk Soup, because I love the show Talk Soup.
I love John Henson.
Yeah.
That we always watched that.
Greg Kinnear was first.
Well, Greg Kinnear was first. He was good, but then John Henson took it over.
Yeah.
And the time for President's Day.
Yeah.
He wore the wig with the black mark instead of the white. He had that white
like a birthmark thing.
And we thought that was the most hilarious thing. And then the New Year special where it starts after the party's over. He's like, then thank you everyone. And they're like, wait, we just went live. What? You missed it? What about the monkey flying on the firework? You missed that too? What? And it's like, oh my goodness, Talk Soup.
Good show, and that was a good station before it turned like gossipy and stupid and Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah,
and
you're right. It used
Orange
to be
County.
excellent,
but it was. I mean, the first couple of years was just strictly kind of fun entertainment stuff.
Talk Soup was just
kind of a behind the scenes of things you didn't normally get to see. Good interviews with actors and stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey guys, what was your top 5 channels you loved and the shows you loved? Let us know. There's tons of channels out there. We probably missed a few, no doubt. But anyway, let us know, and we'll see you next time on
Saturday
Morning
Samoflange, WCW Saturday night.